Hi everyone. As promised, I'd just like to take you through our Smartware demonstration utilizing the IoT Hub, and in this case we're going to use an emulator just to simulate some data flowing through. So what you can see on the dashboard right now is effectively the metrics that we've decided to display. On the call, we talked about the fact that the areas that you can see on the right-hand side are actually Power BI embedded. We've got the Bing API embedded, but of course, anything that you want to see on this dashboard can be customized and changed for something more specific to your application. Important things are obviously devices themselves and how we register those new devices. Adding a new device is as simple in this dashboard as clicking on add a device. We're going to choose a custom device in this situation. We generate a device ID which we then handle in the device itself. If I just go back for a second, we can see that there's a whole heap of additional information about that device stored inside of our solution. So over on the right hand side we can see that in more detail. We've got a hibernate state, a hub enabled state, a created date time, a number of other metrics that we might want to store. In this case we've hard coded longitude and latitude because just in this demonstration that was easier for us to do. Of course that can be provided dynamically and we can track where the device is at any point in time. Obviously key to any IoT solution really are some rules. These rules have been set up to highlight on the map areas where tolerances or thresholds have been broken. In this case it's temperature and humidity, and we'll take a look at that shortly. Of course, actions in any IoT solution is also really important, so we can raise alarms, we can send messages. So let's go back to our dashboard for a second. What we're seeing here is some information about some workers out in the field. When we go back, our GPS information is going to take us to a zoomed in version of the map. And in this case, this is people, as we discussed in our kind of use case, working out in Dubai in this case. The information I see around telemetry history of humidity and temperature, hopefully we can see that moving along in real time. We've also got some sliding averages. But we could also display the individual records themselves that are coming through. If I click on any of the individual elements on a map, of course the rest of the metrics on the screen change in line. So what we're going to actually do is we're going to take a look at Brian. So Brian's sat out here on the map, and there's no telemetry information at all. Now it's important to note at this point that actually this solution is sitting up on Azure in the IoT hub is being utilized along with a number of other services. I'm going to start an emulator, which is our Smart Hat emulator. Now let's not forget here that, okay, the emulator you see on the same screen as the dashboard itself, but the emulator is running on my laptop. The dashboard itself is being refreshed on Azure. So the idea here really is just to simulate a worker starting work. The first thing that worker is going to need to do is to clock on in the morning. Our advice here really is to make that clock in process part of the start process for your IoT device, whatever that might be. It may be walking through an RFID field, it may be physically flicking a switch to turn that on. But what we need to do is to make the device connect to the IoT hub. There's a number of elements here. Okay, we've got the name of the device, we've got the location of our IoT hub listener, we've got a security key, and in this case we're just sending some additional information, which again is simply the longitude and latitude. I'm going to clock on, and that's basically the process of this device connecting to the IoT hub. We can see that that connection has been successful. If we take a look at the events, and this is just for debugging so we can see what's going on, we can see the JSON statement that's been sent over to the IoT hub. Now a number of things have been sent across: the device's name, of course, whether it's enabled or not, the date, but also if we move further down, some of that asset information around serial numbers. Further down still, the commands that this specific device accepts. So in this case, we've got start work, stop work, open vents, close vents, sandstorm alert, and sandstorm clear. So let's go back here and let's get Brian to start work. So Brian started digging. We can see a status identifying the fact that, that Brian's working. And we can see that actually, while we're not showing any information over here, the chart has actually started to plot on the time axis, because obviously Brian started working. Now, just to show you some idea of what the latency is like here, if I scale the temperature up to something like 46 degrees, within less than 5 seconds, depending on whatever network performance that we've got available to us, we can see that being ingested and shown on the map. In fact, if I slide the humidity up, we can see the same thing start to happen. Let's just give that a few seconds to happen. There we go. We can see humidity is available on the map now, on the chart now. Now, you might remember when we took a look at the rules and the alerts, we'd set a threshold for temperature. Now, let's make Brian a little bit hotter, a little bit more humid. Now this is a point where we might want Brian to come back in, because obviously the environmental conditions are getting pretty tricky. Now we can see straight away that that alert has shown up in our alarm history, and we can see that the graphic, the placeholder on the map, the pinpoint, has also turned red to indicate that we've got a problem. Let's turn that back down, and over time this will now start to drop off. We can see the chart is mimicking what we're doing. So just to give you some idea of what alarms and alerts can be raised, just to give you some idea of the latency that we can get out of a system like the Azure IoT Suite. But also, I think it's important to understand that we can send messages back. So let's go across to our devices, and let's go across to the device that Brian has. Over here, we've got the ability to send commands. Let's click on commands, and because of the way that the device registered, those commands are available for us to utilize. So let's do something interesting. One of the things that we might want to do is to alert Brian that a sandstorm's coming, again indicating that Brian needs to come back. Now of course that message is going to go back to Brian. This could be a buzzer, this could be a light, this could be some kind of alarm that just indicates that, that maybe it's time to come in. If we take a look over here, we can see the individual messages being generated by the device itself. Now let's send a message back. Now we're going to have to be a little quick here, so I'm going to move some of this background information out of the way. Let's move this over out of the way so that we can see Brian a little bit at the same time, because this is going to happen really quickly. Let's send a sandstorm alert to Brian and see how quickly the IoT hub can actually notify Brian that there's a problem. So even before the web page has managed to refresh, we can see that Brian has got that indication. Again, that could be the buzzer, that could be that light indicating that something's wrong, we need to come in. Of course, we can cancel that and tell him that actually, do you know what, the sandstorm's okay, and again we can see that message happen. Other things that we might like to do, we might like to just indicate that that potentially it's time to stop work. Now I appreciate with a human being, that's not as relevant as it might have been with the device itself, but still I think for demonstration purposes we can get Brian to stop work. If we go back to our dashboard for a second, we'll see that of course we're not receiving any more information from Brian. So that was just a very quick tour of some of the things that that are possible with the IoT Hub. Of course, we're happy to take this standard out of the box template and customize it to fit your needs. Thanks for listening.